Father, do it like this today. I don't think you should take it off. As soon as I made a position, father said. I was the youngest of the siblings and there were two sisters and a brother older than me. All of his sisters were healthy and fine, but the son that mother and father had prayed for with prayers and wishes was born mentally ill and disabled. We had worked in people's homes from the beginning and had never seen our father work. All of his sisters were very beautiful. We had actually gone against our mother because my mother was very beautiful. Shabu was right. Her mother had been working in my home for 3 years and she was a very beautiful woman. Shabu started saying, Baji, my mother had married my father for love, otherwise my father had no qualities. I didn't like my father from the beginning. He used to beat my mother and take all the money and go and satisfy his addiction. My mother had a love marriage with Aha and my mother had run away and got married, so she was forced to live with him. She used to say that even though it was a name, there is a roof over your father's name. If I left him, where would I take you 3 girls? We were growing up like this. Abalu did not go to work. My elder sister had to go to work with my mother every day. I and my younger sister were left behind. I often saw that he often took my elder sister with him. He would return in the evening before my mother came. My sister would go to the bathroom and lock herself and cry. She would spend the whole night crying. I used to ask her a lot to tell me what happened. I will help you, but she would sit and cry all night. One day, I was sleeping when a light noise outside woke me up. I saw my father holding my sister's arm and pulling her out, and she was about to release her hand and was refusing to go to her father. I don't know, but my father forcibly took her with him. After that, when she returned, as soon as she came, she grabbed a stick from the kitchen and cut her wrist. I had seen her die with my own eyes and I have not forgotten that scene to this day. I knew that she had died because of my father. No one knew why she had taken her life. I was 10 or 11 years old at that time. I did not understand these things at that time, but still, on the day of the funeral, I tried to tell my mother several times that she was crying because of my father and that she had died because of my father, but my mother was in her grief and could not understand me. After my sister's death, I got scared and my lonely heart started to tremble. I used to take care of my disabled brother as a dying person, but now I have become a duty. My mother and elder sister Nilo would go to work and I would stay at home with my sick brother. I was afraid of my father even before. From that day on, I stopped coming in front of my father. I was doing this until I turned 16. I was the most beautiful of my sisters and it was not me but my father who realized this. One day, I was sitting on the terrace when my father saw me and said, I still considered you a child, but you have grown up. When my father said this, I trembled with fear. I started remembering intensely how my sister died because of my father. I would run away and lock myself in the room. I did not know where my father used to take my elder sister one day every week, when she would come and cry for hours. I did not want this to happen to me too. I started to fear my father. That is why I insisted, I will go to work and you will take care of Gudu at home. Amma was not agreeing because she did not want me to work, but in the face of stubbornness, she gave in. Then Amma made me work in your house instead. I was very happy to be away from my home and father. You used to treat me very well and I thought that maybe life would always be like this and I would be happy and satisfied, but such a thing was not written in my destiny. One day I went home and saw that Amma was very worried. I asked her what happened and she said, Gudu is very sick. The doctors have said that he will have to undergo a mandatory operation within a year or two. I asked her, Amma, what is the point of worrying so much about it? She said, the operation requires a lot of money and I have to earn it at all costs so that I can save my son's life. I got worried that Amma would get so much money from where. Amma said, for this, I will have to go out of the country. A Begum Sahib is shifting to a foreign country and she wants to take the maid from Pakistan. When they asked me, I said yes because this way Gudu can be treated. I said, Amma, it's okay, you go. I and Nilo Baji are here. We will look after the house. Amma said, that's the problem. I want to get Nilo married before I go and you will have to take care of your brother alone. I folded my hands in front of Amma and said, don't do this. How can I live here alone? Come and get Nilo Baji married. But Amma was thinking of sending the rest away within a week. I was not afraid of being alone, but I was afraid of staying with Abba. Even though Abba had not told me anything yet, every time I saw Abba, I would see my sister taking her own life and I would get scared. But my one no was heard and Amma got Baji married within a week and the day after her wedding, she left. Behind me, Mir Izani, my sick brother and Abara went. When my father came and asked for food, I would give him something to eat, but the day he stopped coming, my father's anger was palpable. He would pick up and throw every single thing in the house and then get angry. One such day, he brought his friend home with him, who was the same age as my father. The next day, my father said, get ready in the evening, you have to go somewhere with me. After listening to my father's words, I was still in a state of shock, but did he know where to go? I had left my house in a hurry. I had received a call from my sister's house that her health had deteriorated and she was in the hospital. Actually, my sister was in a hurry. And she had been taken to the hospital. My brother-in-law was going straight to the hospital after leaving the office. I was praying for my sister's well-being and for her son all the way. The hospital had arrived. I immediately entered the hospital. My brother-in-law was also there. When he went there, he came to know that his wife had been taken to the operation theater. He started waiting outside the operation theater in a state of anxiety. After half an hour, the doctor called him. He immediately reached him. The doctor said, you are Nilofar's husband. The brother-in-law said, yes, doctor, I am her husband. The doctor looked a little disappointed. She said, look, sir. Your wife is completely fine. I just have to tell you that the child born to your wife is neither a girl nor a boy. Hearing this, the ground disappeared from under my and my brother-in-law's feet. Doctor, what do you want to say? I could hear my voice from somewhere far away. She said, to put it bluntly, a transgender person has been born here. Look, this is all from Allah. No one has any interference in it. You should be brave. After a while, we will shift the patient to the ward. Then you can meet your patient, she said, leaving while her brother-in-law was just staring blankly. Her sister-in-law had come home from the hospital, but both of their faces were devoid of joy. They were thinking about how they would face the people of the neighborhood and relatives. After all, how long would they hide this? One day, everyone was bound to come to know about it, which finally happened. In hushed words, both husband and wife got to hear a lot of things. After hearing them, they would only take a sip of patience. At my suggestion, they named him Shamam. Shamam is a name that is given to both boys and girls. Time it went on like this. 6 months later, the sister told her brother-in-law the good news again. But this time, the brother-in-law was not as happy as before. He was afraid that fate would play a joke on him again. He prayed a lot to his Lord. Finally, his prayers came true and a boy was born to him. His feet seemed to have barely touched the ground. He distributed sweets a lot. They named him Jalal. And now all their love was only for Jalal. The existence of the team seemed to have become meaningless to these people. Shamam was 2 years old. She was not even allowed to go out of the house. She was kind of imprisoned in the house. She was happy to be imprisoned in the house, but she was always scolded. She was ignored. Even her father and mother did not know what she was like, and she also ignored her. Seeing all these things, I finally decided and brought Shamam to my house. And I started raising him. Aha! This step of mine was very unpleasant to me, but he couldn't even say anything because he was earning. But what did I know that my father was planning? Yesterday he took Shamam from me and said that his mother was missing him and wanted to meet him. I happily handed Shamam over to him, but what did I know that he had already settled the deal for Shamam? By the time I found out, it was too late. Father had handed him over to a group of eunuchs. And in return he also brought a lot of notes. I gave Shabu water to drink once again and asked, "Tell me how you got into this situation," she said. "Baji, that's what you're telling me." Today when I came to know that he had given Shamam somewhere, I fought with him a lot, but what did I know that he had also settled Mir Asuda by taking advantage of Amma's absence. A few men entered the room with my father. I was scared, but they stopped me from going out. My father told me, "You are an angel. Today with my friend." When I refused to sign the marriage certificate, my father took the cruelty to the extreme and started beating my sick younger brother. I kept screaming, "Father, don't be so cruel." But he was really mean. To save my brother's life, I said, "Okay, I will sign." Before signing, I saw a knife. I picked up the stick and told my father that I will cut my wrist. "Get these people out. I don't want to get married." A man came forward and forcibly started to pull me out. In the struggle, the knife went into his stomach. I didn't understand what to do. What had happened to me, but I didn't hit him intentionally. I ran away from there at a gallop. While running, I thought of you, so I came here. Then she said, "Auntie, do you know that my elder sister who died because of my father?" My father himself told me that he had also forced her into marriage, and once a week he would leave her with her husband and later go and pick her up. Because of this my sister used to cry, and fed up with her life she committed suicide. Are there fathers who become like this for their own daughters? She was crying and I didn't know what to say. I myself would have been upset after hearing her whole story. Her mother was not there. I was the only one who could comfort her and be of any use. I gave Shahad a sleeping pill to help her sleep. I couldn't sleep. Memories of my father were echoing in my mind. We were 3 sisters, and after that, I was the eldest among the siblings. That's why I saw my mother and father working hard. I used to see how my mother saved money at home and my father worked hard outside. Then, he tried to fulfill not only the needs of his children, but also their wishes. My father loved me very much and fulfilled every wish. One day, I asked my father. I asked, "Baba, I want a new bicycle." On my request, Baba looked up from the newspaper, looked at me and started smiling. I said, "Baba, do you know that the bicycle you bought for me from Lahore broke during the shift? Baba, I am very fond of cycling. Please give me a bicycle, and that too with a gear like the one the neighbor has. I want that. Baba was looking at me carefully, wondering what my 7-year-old son has become fond of bicycles. Baba worked in the Foreign Office, due to which we spent most of our time in different cities. When we were in Lahore, I was 3.5 or 4 years old when Baba got the bicycle. When I unpacked the luggage, the seat of this new, cute bicycle was broken. Mir Eder was in a bad condition. The bicycle, dear to my life, was broken due to injuries. At that age, girls used to play with dolls. I was fond of cycling. Baba knew that much. Baba was very rich. No, but his heart is very rich. When I used to ask Baba, both he and his mother would save from somewhere and fulfill my request. Not only mine, but they considered it their duty to fulfill the legitimate wishes of all their siblings. This habit continued through primary, middle and then matriculation. Before going to bed at night, he would leave all his things scattered here and there, but when he opened his eyes in the morning, all his things would be neatly packed in the bag and the bag would be neatly laid out on the table. My Baba used to do all this for us. I loved my parents very much and was grateful to Allah and my parents for giving me such good parents. I had decided at that time that my Baba would go to different places to fulfill one of my requests. He would save money and take me on foot, so that I too would study and become a grown man. I would fill the house with comforts for Baba. My parents would keep everything they liked and needed in this house for me. I was educated, taught good morals and manners, taught Islamic values and orders, taught me respect for modesty and relationships, taught me everything, but I did not tell him that after raising me with such pampering, one day suddenly my husband would come and I would leave as a bride. Baba wanted me to become an educated officer and I studied hard, thinking that I would become something. I had dreams of becoming a mayor and settling down. My mother, who used to sew our clothes herself and save the tailor's money, I remember that when I entered college, I wanted 15,000 rupees. I told her about it. That night, around 2 a.m., my eyes opened and I felt something was wrong in the veranda of the house. On further reflection, I also felt that someone was crying with sobs. I secretly went to the veranda and looked, and my mother, wearing thick glasses, was constantly trying to thread the machine, and tears were also falling at the same time. He asked, "What are you doing, mother?" Mom looked at me in shock and quickly wiped away her tears and put a smile on her face and said in a clear voice that it was the wedding of Nayat's brother in front of her. She said that I have been sitting here until morning to sew 2 suits, but the needle did not stop. That day, seeing my mother's condition and tears, I realized how much my parents were working hard for us. Then the next day I came to know that my uncle sold his motorcycle and used to save money for us by saving money at home, and Baba used to travel on foot and in a wagon to save money. For our sake, I wanted us to study, write, become something and give our entire salary to mom and dad and say, "Now you can rest, you have worked hard all your life. Now give us a chance to serve you." How many dreams, how many aspirations did I have that I would become something to support my parents, but I did not even remember that I was a girl. I had to go. I did not even know that I had to go quickly. He who had thought that after studying, writing, working and getting married after some time, she would have gone, but she did not know that fate had something else in mind, and I got married right in the middle of my graduation, and my parents went on posting after my marriage. I did not understand why this happened, how it happened. I was sure that I was my mother's darling. My father must have seen and thought something good for me. I had looked forward to every decision of my father with this belief. But only by respecting him and obeying him could I have paid my dues to him. Today, my father has become a butler. All my siblings got married. All of them were educated, and by the grace of God, they were promoted to high positions. All this was the result of my mother's tireless work, prayers, and sincerity. Especially my father. I had a great desire in my heart to serve my parents when I grew up, but who knew that tomorrow, the good news came: my father got married. I was sure that my father must have thought good for me, so I accepted my father's decision, and time proved that his decision was right. I got a good husband. I got everything: a good life, a house, children, respect, wealth. Today I am so happy because of my father. Not all fathers in my family are bad. Shabu's experience was such that after hearing his story, the word father is completely lost. But on the other hand, there are people like my father in the world, seeing whom I pray that Allah gives such a father to everyone. I had promised to help Shabu. The next day, I called my father and asked him to help Shabu. He immediately used his resources to get his father imprisoned and also sent money for Shabu and his brother. Shabu's problem was solved. What kind of daughter was the poor girl who was in danger from her father? She went back. I told her to stay with me, but she said, "Now my father's shadow is not on my head. Now I have to be both a father and a mother to my brother until my mother returns from abroad." A few days later, we brought Shamim back together. It was as if Shabu had found the whole world. A few days later, there was a case in court and a daughter testified against her father. Her father was sentenced to 2 years for the crime of trading his daughter.